Hi everyone, my name is Tazmin from the Student Music Network UK, and I'm delighted to be here speaking today with Elena Fury. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good. We may or not have had some technical issues, but we're all okay now. We're back on track to do some interviewing. So, Elena, just to start, I'd like to know a little bit more about how you got into the music industry. What started your passion for music in the first place?
Um, I've been like into singing my whole life basically. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I always thought I'd love to be a singer. I'd want to be a singer, and I think a lot of the way like people would react when you say it, it's like, oh yeah, it's fine. She's small. It's gonna go away. And I wasn't sure if it was gonna go away. I thought, yeah, maybe one day I'll grow up and I'll grow out of it, but I didn't. So I just went sort of when it came to like I finished school and I had to like decide what I'm doing. Music was still the thing I wanted to do. So that was always the main thing in growing up. I was playing the violin and I was playing a bit of piano. So music was always a big part of my life. And I was in choirs and musicals. And it was always my favorite thing to do out of everything, to be honest. But then, yeah, it took a bit of courage to actually pursue it. But
Yeah. But you're here now and you're releasing beautiful music and you're doing so well. So I just want to talk about Burning Questions, the single that you've just released, like I think like 3 weeks ago in September. Tell us about Burning Questions. How did it come about? Maybe if our listeners haven't heard it yet, could you give us a little summary of the song?
so the song is about um, when you're in an environment where it feels like you can't really be yourself. Yeah, I wrote this song about how in those moments it feels like leaving for a bit is the best thing to do, to be able to see what happens when you're not in that constricted environment. Yeah, and I wrote it like this. It's the first single off an EP, so my debut EP, and I wrote it. So it's like a lockdown, I guess like a corona bait in
Okay.
a way, because we wrote it. It was me and my producer Femi, tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did the track, and sort of the way it started is he sent it to me because obviously we weren't able to see each other, so
Mm.
I sent it back and forth, and then this is like the third version of this song because it just kept changing, and we were like, oh, do you know what?
Oh.
It was unfolding, and it was like, we need it a bit different, so I did it again. But no regrets.
Mhm. In your experience of, songwriting and music, how important would you say collaboration is for you?
I think very important. I think
Yeah.
it sort of changed a little bit during the pandemic because obviously you weren't able to be in a band in one room basically. So before that, I would sort of write a song and then bring it to the band and we'd like workshop it, or I would always like writing
Hmm.
with people.
Yeah.
I always did, but I think with this project, it was very specific in the way that it was just literally two people involved, whereas usually it would be maybe I'd write it with someone, you'd record it with the whole band, but we just weren't able to do that. So the whole process was just like pretty much
Mhm.
us two for this EP, obviously mixing, mastering, and there's some bits and pieces, but
Yeah.
as the core thing, it was us two. So it was definitely a huge collaboration with Femi, and it was such a cool process because it was such a crazy time, and to be able to still make music and in this new type of way was so inspiring.
With a lot of your inspiration, does that come from personal experience? Does that come from like stories that your like best friends have told you or stuff like you've seen on TikTok? I don't know. Where does your inspiration mainly come from then?
Um, to be honest, mostly personal. I
Yeah.
Yeah, because I just think for me, I like to really have that feeling when I write it rather than it being a concept in my head. Like obviously sometimes you just feel for someone so much that you song, but then it still triggers something in you, I guess. um so yeah, I love writing out of my own experience, and usually I have enough to write about, which I'm happy with. Maybe maybe at some point, but yeah, sometimes someone else inspires you, but then it's still a message to them, I guess, or
So, what else can we expect on the EP? Do we have a date for its release yet? Or
not yet, but it's a 5-track EP. I
five
think
tracks? Okay.
that song is like a good, like, it ties it all together, like it's all in the same type of
Mm,
like environment, but I think it's more of that but different, I think I would say.
mhm. We've talked about your inspiration coming from like your personal life, but musically and lyrically, and from like a performing context, who are your biggest inspirations?
Definitely, D'Angelo is someone that I always go back.
Mm,
Classic, I know, but it's just so good. And
yeah.
it's one of those, like, I feel like his albums I can always go back to. Like, I never get bored of it. And I've been listening to it for so long,
Mm,
and I'm longing for him to release more, but I never get sick of it. And I think that's sort of the type of music that I would say is my inspiration, where I can just go back and back time and time again, and it just doesn't feel old. Erica Badu is another classic, I know, and Angie Stone I love a lot as well. Jasmine
mhm.
Sullivan, um,
Yeah.
Raphael Sadiq I love a lot. Um, you know,
Mhm.
that type of universe. There's so much in there.
Aside from the EP, what's next for you in terms of maybe some headline shows, a little tour? What's next for Elena Fleury?
I think definitely when the EP's out, I want to have a show, like a
Yeah,
release, like a release party.
yeah.
I feel like that's a must after, like, it feels
Hmm.
like the cherry on top. So definitely that. But before that, I'm hoping to definitely do some shows, in different constellations probably. But I haven't got one lined up
Yeah,
that I can like plug right now, but there will be.
yeah, yeah. Amazing. Right. And so looking into the future, if you had to choose one career defining moment, what is what would that be for you?
I think, I mean, a Grammy's great because it feels tangible. You know,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I don't know. I feel like in this industry, I mean, to be honest, there's so much really good music that never won a Grammy, So it's not, but
Yeah.
it feels nice because it's so tangible, and it's something that I think in this industry sometimes it's like, how do you measure that, it's been
That's so true. Yeah.
that you've done something good, or you've done something. And I think just having a Grammy to be like, we've done it, but then it's like I said, it's not the be all end all, because there's a lot of people who didn't get there, who I think are some of my favorite musicians.
Yeah. If you ever got a Grammy, do you know where you would put it
Where would
in your house? Because
uh,
there's a lot of celebrities that put their Grammys in like really weird places. I don't know. Maybe I would, maybe I'd put it on a toilet, like above, not on the toilet, not in the toilet, like, next to the toilet. So every time like I'm in the bathroom, I'd be like,
I
damn
don't
girl, you did good.
That's so funny, because when you said that, I somehow thought of the bathroom. I'm like, that's such a
Yeah.
wild. But then you said the same. So maybe that there's something in there, maybe, I don't know.
What about a dream venue to perform in?
I mean, there's a lot around London that are really cool. And I've
Yeah.
gone to gigs too, and I'm like, oh, playing here would be so cool. But also, I think
Yeah.
outside, I would love to like have a headline in New York. It's not a specific venue, but it's like, I think one of the things I'm like, if I was to do a headline in New York, like, it feels like a next step, which would be so cool. Obviously, the Jazz Cafe. is a great one.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Elena. And if you are wondering, where can we find you on socials or Spotify?
So it's Elena Flurry. So it's Flury.
Mhm.
And Elena is Elena. And that's basically how I am everywhere. So Facebook,
Amazing.
Instagrams, Spotify, YouTube, obviously.
And if you'd like to listen to Elena's music on Spotify, I would 100% recommend it. Burning Questions, Focus. Her music is all on there for you to listen to. And yeah, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.